talked to all the candidates for CD2, and GraniteGrok has extensively interviewed Steve in particular, and chose to endorse him. From my point of view, he's at least as conservative as the others, if not more so, and he's the hardest working by far. Steve's everywhere throughout the district, and when you're trying to win in the general, being willing to put in the effort means a lot. So, a conservative that works hard, and I think he's going to do it.
Thank you, Mike. Well, first I'd like to thank Mike and Marmar for opening up their lovely home once again to bring some of these friends. I know I'll have to pay most of you before you leave for coming, so that's great. And as I look at the crowd, there's a bunch of people that have been with me for a while. I'd like to thank my wife, specifically Terry, because I wouldn't have started this venture without her. And so we set aside a day a week that we do something together. It doesn't matter if it's on the campaign trail or at home, but it's something that I think is important.
Thank you, Jerry.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And then as a young freshman legislator, there's a young man here, well, two actually, Don LeBron and Carl Saudell from Nashville that kind of took me underneath their wing and showed me how fun it was to have breakfast down in the State House with stories about cupcakes that we can't say in public.
Oh.
No, afterwards when the camera stops rolling. But really, thank you all for coming and for giving me an opportunity to talk to you again. You know, we are now in the last stretch, and we're very, very excited about where we're at. I want to thank first of all Roger. He doesn't like the limelight, but Roger is the kind of guy that we met. I got a phone call from him. I was on the beach in Aruba about a year and a half ago, and I'm like, who the hell is this Roger Wilkins, and why is he bothering me on the beach? Probably one of the best phone calls I ever got. And so Roger and I have been neck and neck since June of last year. And so a testament to where we are in this campaign is Roger's vision. Roger is an old school, get out the vote kind of guy. And we brought the right kids together. So we've got we've got the best field team in the state, bar none. And when I went to the CD1 debate, and I had some other campaigns come up to me and goes, I'm glad you're not in CD1. From the ground game, which is great. And so I like to say hi to Tyler. Tyler is my ground guy, so Tyler. And so we started this campaign. It was really funny. I was so excited to jump into this race. I told Roger in June, okay, we're going to announce in June. He goes, no, you're not. I said, okay, July. He's like, nope. I said, August. He's like, no. He goes, I'm going to ask you 3 questions. Do you have a strategy? Do you have a team? Do you have money? I went, no. So he goes, we're going to build demand for you. He goes, trust me that when we start this grassroots effort, slow all the way through, that we're going to get to a point where we're going to be at where we're at today. And so this ground game that we've knocked on over probably 12,000 doors already. We've got tremendous amount of confirms already, and it's a testament, as I said earlier, to these kids. And I like to go door knocking with them, but I'm so damn tired afterwards, right? Because they're like sprinting from door to door, and I have to carry an oxygen bottle with them. Like, well, you guys need to stop. But that's really where we're at. I started this event and this campaign about bringing a change, and it isn't just kind of hollow words. It really is about giving the opportunity, or giving CD2 an opportunity to have a voice. I've been serving, and I've been a public servant all the way back since 1979 as a young cadet in ROTC. And I've been in the Air Force till I retired in 1998, started my own business after I worked for some of the large defense corporations, and it was always about giving back. It was always about service before self. And for those of you who know the story, my wife outranks me, and I'll say that just once, and that's okay. But she's retired.
In every way.
In every way, that's right. Yeah, in every way.
In perpetuity.
They all do.
I know. We'll need to start a support group, okay? And Ro, you can be the president. But her father served. My father's retired Air Force. My sister served. Our nephew served, and our son flew in this morning at 12:50, and he's on active duty. And he's now joined us. He's taking a little break at the house, but he's on active duty as well with the Air Force Special Operations Command. And so it is about bringing a voice. When one of the things people ask me is like, why did I go down this road? And I sat on the election law committee in the House, and the thing that made such an impact on me, and some of the guys that are here that have been on committees for a long time, is that people will travel 2.5 hours for 5 minutes of your time because they fundamentally believe that they have an opportunity to affect change, that they have an opportunity to be heard, that their voice is important, and that their voice matters. And that made an impact on me, and I said, you know what? Do we have that on a larger scale down in Washington? Truth of the matter is, we don't. We have a representative that really is all about what she has to do to be in a favored nation status with her party. You know, we kind of jokingly say that she makes Pelosi look like a moderate, and it's crazy when we don't have a voice. And that's the job of a representative. The job of a representative is to be the voice of your constituents, not necessarily what I want to do, even though there are some fundamental things about me, which we'll get to, that are non-negotiable for me, but at least you know where I stand. I won't flap in the wind. So when I see what our current congresswoman does, it is about bringing a voice to CD2. You know, and I talked to the governor when he's not in hot water. I'm kidding. I talked to the governor, and we talk about, he goes, I cannot pick up the phone and call Washington and get any help for the state. I have to go down to Washington because I have no help on the other end of the telephone. And that's true. You know, it still strikes when I talk to people as a retired guy, people that live all over the country, they go, how did you win the corner office? How did you win the executive council? How did you win the Senate? And how did you win the House? But your entire federal delegation is Democrat. And I give them the Aggie salute. I'm like, I don't know. But we're going to change that. You know, we've got some great candidates in both CD1 and CD2. And people talk about this blue wave. I don't believe that for a second. I believe that there is an underpinning out there that when people look at what our president's doing, when people see what the policies that he's putting in place, despite all the obstacles, despite the obstacles from the left, despite the obstacles within his party, and despite the media, President Trump has stayed true to what he said he was going to do, and that's a testament to our president. And he needs help. You know, when we travel this district, we have this great feeling of this great national insecurity, and it really touches on a lot of topics. And when I jumped into this, Rod used to tell me, let me tell you something, there's people north of Concord, there are people north of Concord.
Yeah.
Then there's the people out west in the Connecticut River Valley. They're their own people. Then you got you Flatlanders down here in Nashua. But the funny thing about it is there's a common thread amongst all those areas. They're worried about the debt. They're worried about the immigration issue. They're worried about the opioid crisis. You know, they're worried about, you know, the military. They're worried about our veterans. So it's a common theme of this great national insecurity that's out there. And that's what this campaign is about. This campaign is about fighting for New Hampshire families and freedom. That's what this is about. It's about restoring confidence in America, right? Our president ran on that 2 years ago about making America great again. That's a great step. We have a confidence problem. People don't trust politicians. People don't trust people who go to Washington. And people say, well, what makes you different, Stephen? What makes you different than anybody else who's gone there? I don't have a magic bullet, but I tell them this. The thing that defines Steve Negron is that I'm her husband, and that I'm a father, and that I'm a God-fearing man, and that I'm a business owner. Those things are enduring. Those things will be there forever. And this political thing can end in 2 years, and I come back to those things that are important. Because people, I think, get intoxicated when they go to Washington. If I don't take care of these things that ground me, then I'm really not the person that I think I am. But that's who I am. Take all this stuff, take this pretty face away and all the nice jackets.
I'm not going to disagree.
Okay. And that's what defines, you know, and people don't, and if you're not grounded in that, if you don't have that fundamental belief, and we see it happen all the time. I think people go to Washington and do things that they normally wouldn't do because they have to stay in Washington. Because that's now defining who they are. Trust me, 2 years, you guys don't like the job I'm doing, you bring me home, I'm coming back to her. It's not a bad thing to come back to. I come back to New Hampshire. That's not a bad thing to come back to. I come back to my children, my friends. It's not a bad thing to come back to, right? But the job is in Washington. And I go there on your behalf. That's what I do. And I was talking to a former congressman, Congressman Ginta, and I said, so what's it like to be a congressman? He goes, well, it really is predicated on the speaker, but when I was in, we had sessions Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It's when we voted on bills. You were expected to go home Thursday night or Friday morning, do constituent services, and go back. I said, let me make sure I get this. I only have to work Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then I get to go home and be with friends and go up to the North Country and go out to Westmoreland and talk to people like we've been doing for the last 9 months to a year. He's like, yeah, that's a pretty good gig to come home and to talk. And you have to come home because things change, problems change, situations change. And I'm not going to be effective unless I do that. You've heard me say this on the trail. My grandmother used to tell me, you got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. And when you're talking, you're not learning. And that's what we're here to do. So we believe that this great national security is, we have to talk about things like immigration. Look, who is Steve Negron? What does he stand for? I'm a pro-life guy. Period. I'm a Catholic. I teach confirmation at my church. You know, people ask me why I'm a pro-life, and I've told the story, and I think Janine heard this about my cousin, Margarita, who was born, when my aunt was pregnant, she contracted German measles. And they told her that the birth would probably be difficult. But my cousin was born, she was deaf, dumb, she was blind in one eye, she had holes in her heart. Greatest person I've ever known. And my relationship with my cousin proved to me that every life is precious. And I never would have had that opportunity to have that relationship with my cousin if my aunt had done something different. And at a very young age, I understood how precious life was. And so there's no off-ramps for me. It's not, and you'll hear people on this campaign that'll tell you openly, I'm pro-choice. But I won't fund Planned Parenthood. Okay.
Really?
How do you, well, that's their gig.
What they're saying.
Well, so you're not talking about they're going to say you are pro.
Oh, no, not me. I'm saying for me, there's no off-ramps. Either you are or you aren't. It's binary, right? As a military guy, I'm a veteran. My wife's a veteran. Our son is serving. You know, we have a current representative that comes back to the States and touts the fact that she's a big proponent of Veterans Affairs. But when she came to Nashville and she was going to hold a roundtable, I called up and I said, I'd like to come and sit in. No, that's okay. We have enough veterans. But I'm a veteran. No, that's okay. We got all we need. Okay. I get it, right? And then she wants to take a victory lap on the shoulders of our veterans. Not on my watch. Not on my watch. Do not be opportunistic with her. And I wasn't going to talk about this, but I'm going to talk about it today because I think it's pertinent. Today was a tough day for me because I had a friend pass away today.
So sorry.
He was an Army guy. Loved him anyway. But here's a guy that if he had had an opportunity with the Mission Act and gotten the care that he wanted when he needed it, or that he could have gone into a clinical trial, that the VA and the Center for Cancer Research they've just started, that he could have had access to a clinical trial. Mark may still be with us. I don't know if it would have, but at least he would have had the chance. So Steve Negron's position is every option's on the table for veterans, every one. If you want to go to the VA Medical Center in Manchester, go. If you want to go to your local primary care physician, you can go. And we make a mistake sometimes talking about veterans. They're not young guys like Don. Not all of them are, right? I know a 19-year-old kid, 1 combat tour. 19. 1 combat tour. That's a veteran. They need the same kind of care. Maybe he wants to go to the same doctor he's been going to since he was an adolescent. That's his or her choice. So that's what we're about. We're about making sure that our veterans are taken care of. There's 435 members in Congress. Only 79 are veterans.
Wow.
79. Who's the voice? It's not our current representative. And you can talk about it all you want. There's something about someone who's gone through basic training, something about somebody who's had to learn how to lace up your boots the correct way and understand what it is you're talking about. You can't be a lobbyist turned politician and tell me you understand what the veterans' plight is. Doesn't happen at all. Immigration. I'm a grandson of a Mexican immigrant. My grandmother was from Puerto Rico. And I'm telling you, I talked to somebody 2 days ago who was surprised when I told him that Puerto Ricans were U.S. citizens. It's okay. It's all right. We'll educate you too. But we're a land of laws. There's a right way to do it. We're not doing it, and we need to get back to it. Right? That's how my grandfather came across in 1921. But it's not all about naturalization, right? There's 185 ways to come into this country. You can come in as a seasonal worker. You can come in for education. Heck, I didn't realize that. I had a friend of mine just married a beautiful Colombian girl. You can come here on a visa to get married.
Yep.
But there's rules. And to me, it's about national security. It's about knowing who's in our country. People asked me the other day on WMUR, well, it was Adam Sexton, do I believe in the wall? You're damn right I do. I do. But it's not just about immigrants. It's about the influx of drugs into this country. It's about terrorism, right? Central and South America have favored nation status with some of the terrorist cells in the Middle East, and they know that if we have porous borders, they're going to come into this country. Folks, let's not fool ourselves. People want to come to this country to hurt us. And that's what we have to make sure that we protect. Our budget. Huge deficit. To me, I think it's the greatest national security risk that this country has. We're going to be crushed under the weight of this budget. The president signed a great tax bill in December. It was a good start. But commensurate with that, you need to start reducing your spending. And I'm a firm believer of what's called zero-based budgeting. Is that if you had $100 last year and I just give you 10 more, that's 10 more on top of $100. What if the $100 was bad? Now I got $110 of a bad budget. I've seen it in the military that I've done it, is you start from the bottom up. You need to justify what you need. And when you tell people you only have $80 versus $100, I promise you, they'll make it work. We make it work every Sunday when we're balancing our checkbook. As my grandmother said, you got gazintas and you got gazadas. You can't have too many gazadas if you don't have enough gazintas. I know that's very simple, but it's a basic premise. You cannot spend what you don't have. The other day I was talking to my daughter and I said, hon, if you don't want that, put it on layaway. And she looked at me, you know, like a dog looks at you kind of funny when you say something. She's like, what's layaway?
Yeah.
Layaway is when you don't have enough money to buy it, you pay it off over time, and then you may get it 6 months down the road or 9 months down the road. I know for your generation it's immediate, but if you don't have it, then you don't get it. And we need to do that. We need to look at how we go ahead. And I'm a Department of Defense guy. And I know where the waste is in the Department of Defense. I live it. And I've been on both sides. I was an Air Force program manager that ran $600-700 million programs, and I was on the industry side that tried to get some of that $600-700 million. So I know all the dirty, dark secrets. I know what we put in our request for proposal. I know how we respond. And so when I get my seat on the HASC, the House Armed Services Committee, and when we start talking about being very judicious with the money we have, there's very few people that have that experience that I have. Now, some people will tell you that they've been in the military, and I salute every veteran that's out there. But my position in service was not singularly focused. For those of you who don't know, I was an ICBM missile combat crew member. In the height of the Cold War, I'm 90 feet on the ground. I had 10 nuclear weapons that I was responsible for. Pretty sobering. Then I left that, and as a joke, I had an assignment to go to Italy, a place called Rimini, to be a munitions site commander. In the 80s, we would still maintain control of the nuclear weapons, and then we would give them up to the host nation if the balloon ever went up. So I'm 28 years old. I'm a young captain. I hadn't met my bride yet. I'm going to go over to Italy, marry an Italian girl, open a bar. That was my plan. I had it. I even bought the photos book about Rimini, right? I knew exactly what I was going to do. 2 weeks, like anybody's been in the service, 2 weeks before I'm supposed to go, I get a call from personnel like, you're not going to Rimini. You're going to this place called Hanscom. I was, what is that? I've never even heard of it, right? Greatest assignment I ever had. It brought me up here to New Hampshire. It allowed me the opportunity to meet this beautiful woman and marry her, raise 3 children. Stephen, who's 25 and on active duty, Jamie, who's 21, who just went to the recruiter, and our daughter, Kathleen, who's a Bishop Girton graduate, right? And she just finished her freshman year at TCU. Being a brat, being a military dependent, I was a nomad. I traveled all over lived on, you know, Janine, you move everywhere. Your kids move everywhere. You don't have roots. My wife, on the other hand, born and raised in Philadelphia, same row house for 50 years. And I got jealous of that. And I said, that's what I want for our children. So when I retired in 1998, we came back here, and this is my home. You know, Governor Sununu has been heard saying that those born in New Hampshire are lucky. People who move here are smart. Amen. Right? And I'm here to fight. I'm here to fight for families and freedoms that are part of my fabric now. And I can tell you one thing. Nobody on this campaign trail is going to out-hustle us. Nobody on this campaign trail is going to outwork us. And I promise you this, as my father said, when Negron shakes your hand, it's better than any contract that you have out there. So we're about restoring American confidence. We're about fighting for the New Hampshire families and freedoms. And I need your help. Your prayers, more importantly. You know, if you see me, don't turn the other way. You know, just shake my hand, say, hey, Steve, you're doing a good job. And we'll take this, right? Our prize is November 6th. That's our goal. There's a little bump on the 11th of September, right? We'll get through that. And we're going to, I miss Ann Custer. We need to bring her home. Thank you very much. Right, yes.
Yeah, you have time for questions?
Absolutely. Questions fire away.
Sure. So you're going to
Infrastructure.
No, I'm not going to put trick questions on you. So you're going to get down to Congress. There's going to be an election for Speaker.
Mhm.
What kind of person do you favor for Speaker? Do you have anybody in mind, or Jim Jordan or anything?
I don't. And, you know, just like we had our own little battle here, just a little side, when I was a freshman, I was still a freshman, Jasper was running and he gave everybody who was going for him a little gavel. And there was another person that was running and gave you a little red state, the New Hampshire red state. And I don't know any different, right? So I took a gavel and I took a state. So I put it on my lapel. And I'm telling you, I am blowing people's minds because they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, they gave me 2 pins. Everybody's led. I guess they come up. So I don't have a preconceived idea. I like somebody that is an independent thinker. I think when you're the Speaker of the House, you're not necessarily the Speaker of a party. I think you're a Speaker of the House that has to be able to herd 434 cats. Which is very difficult at times, and I think somebody has to have a broader vision and not be so sequestered within a party line, because I believe that person in that seat, whoever that may be, needs to be able to manage and orchestrate an entire body of very strong-willed people. And I think that takes a very special kind of person that does it. And I would look at what they did as a legislator, you know, and how they did, and make that kind of assessment after that. But I don't have a preconceived idea right now, other than me. But I'm
Yeah, do you want to push the House in a more conservative direction, or?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, you bet. You bet.
Okay, well, that's what I thought.
Okay.
Steve,
Yes, sir.
if you win, which subcommittees in Congress would you likely to be part of?
Well, I answered that question the other day in Keene. So there's 3, right? Number 1 is the HASC, the House Armed Services Committee. Because I think when you look at those subcommittees, there's a nuclear subcommittee, as you and I both know. I'm an ICBM guy. And in that nuclear role, in my experience in nuclear right now, there's very few of us out there that are walking around. There isn't a single one in Congress that's been a missile combat crew member that has a nuclear background. And I think it's important you look at North Korea. I think it's important you look at the Iran deal. And we can talk about why the Iran deal was so bad in another forum, but what the president did was unbelievable, of galactic proportions, why that deal was bad for us, right? And then don't know yet what's going to come out of North Korea. But the thing about North Korea and about those subcommittees is that, you know, Tillotson went over there when he was director of CIA, the Easter before that event. And I believe, for those of us who know, is that it takes more to deliver a nuclear payload than just lighting the burner on a rocket. There's guidance systems, there's fusing systems, there's a reentry vehicle. There's a lot of stuff that has to happen. And I think we called North Korea and said, you know, we know what you don't have. You may be saber rattling out there, but we think we have an idea. So certainly the House Armed Services Committee, number 1. Number 2 would be on the Veterans Affairs Committee to do that. Clearly, to be able to have a voice, to be able to bring real-time situations, not only from the people that I know, my colleagues, but from my son that's out there and people that I know. And the third one is small business. I'm a small business owner. So, you know, that tax package helped me a lot. And I think to be able to have somebody that's in that committee that understands and knows what it's like to write your name on both sides of the check is very important. And sometimes we've gone without so that the business keeps on going. It's a certain kind of animal that takes that leap to have their own business, and I think those are the 3 committees that I like to get on. No. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Do you believe in term limits?
I do. But that's the easy part of the question, right? The hard part is, what is it? Right? Is it 2, 3 in the House? Does that count too if you want to run for senator? Is it a combination of both? You know, I've heard that the president has term limits. Yes, they do, right? Why not the Senate and why not the House? The question is, I believe, and it's not because that I believe you lose your ability to be effective, is that you lose touch when you live down there. And President Bush, when asked how much a loaf of bread cost, couldn't answer it. I know how much a loaf of bread costs because I'm told to go buy it. Right? You have to have an ability to understand and connect with people. So I think when you're down there all the time, and as I said earlier, you then do things to stay in Washington, I think you lose concept and trust of the people that put you there. So I absolutely believe in term limits, you bet. Like Conyers from Michigan. I mean, he came in 64 and he just left last year. I mean, I think sometimes you begin to lose your effectiveness.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Uh-oh. Yes, sir.
Me?
Yes, no.
No, I just want to know what your views are on global warming.
Well, you know, it's like anything. It's just like a religious argument, right? I personally don't believe in all the scare tactics about global warming that's out there. But, you know, science is science, right? And I would sit there and look at it. I don't believe, you know, we've had some pretty cold winters, you know, and I kind of raise my eye in a jaundiced look about global warming, right? And if you look at 100 years of weather, it's been cyclical, right? It hasn't been one thing or another, you know. Of course, if Al Gore had one president, you know, the whole polar cap would be done and we'd all be swimming to work. But that's not the case. So, you know, you have to be a realist about it and not the scare tactic, you know, that the sky is falling. So I'm not one of those proponents that thinks that, you know, everybody needs to stop eating beans, right? Sorry. Because it's, what? Well, I don't mean it that way, but anyway. What? Sorry. That's a data point. That's a, sorry. Sorry. Any other questions?
Beans are good.
Yes, sir.
You might guess on this one is that where do you come on school choice?
Oh, absolutely. School choice is a parent's right, not even a prerogative. And for any institution to dictate to a parent where they should send their children, I think is criminal. And, you know, our kids went to a private school. Our kids went to a public school. But that was our choice. And so whatever we feel is right, and we all know as parents with children, some kids are just not the right fit. You can't put that round peg in that square. You can't. So for you to mandate and dictate to a parent what it is that we need to do with our children, I think is wrong. I think parents have the right, and we need to get back to allowing the parents the right to raise their children the way they should, and not be dictated to by some institution that doesn't know my kids at all. Right. Yes, sir.
How do you feel about work requirements for welfare, Medicaid, and that sort of thing?
There's no free ride in my world, right? And I learned that from a very hard Puerto Rican guy in this life. You know, there's no such thing. You know, he used to tell me, when somebody gets something for nothing, somebody gets nothing for something.
That's right.
So I agree that some people need help, and we're not, you know, they'll label us as puppy killers, you know, and that we don't like old people. We want to just get away with Meals on Wheels. The truth of the matter is that when you incentivize somebody to do something instead of giving them something, I'm telling you, that's how this country was built. It was about an ability to earn an honest wage, right? And when you just we've done what we raised our kids. It's no different. If I kept on giving my children all this, maybe my daughter, but if I kept on giving my kids all this stuff, right, then they get used to not working for it. So if in fact there is that situation with welfare and that stuff, there has to be a work requirement to it. Otherwise, they'll become dependent on it, and then they'll never have to work, and they'll keep on getting this government subsidy.
Means
Yeah,
testing.
absolutely. You bet.
Means testing.
Yeah.
Any more?
Tim.
Or should we wrap
Tim
it up?
has a question.
Oh, Tim.
No?
Of course.
Okay, Tim. I'm sorry. I just got all of Tim.
I'll ask you one more.
One more, Don. Yes.
Okay. Medicaid, Medicare, Obamacare, what is your feeling on what kind of health care we should provide for everyone?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, the government needs to get out of the business of providing health care. That's not what we're supposed to do. What we need to do is empower you as a consumer to make the right choice for yourself, right? When we get EOBs, or explanation of benefits, and you see a line item that says MRI $3,500 or whatever the case may be, you have no idea if that MRI really costs $3,500, and I'll tell you that it doesn't, right? That's known as a loaded rate. That $3,500 from that hospital has to pay for the person who cleans the floors, has to pay for the parking attendant, has to pay for the lights and the toilet paper, But you can go to Dairy Imaging as a consumer and get the same procedure, probably the same equipment, heck, probably the same technician for $500. And if you have that ability to make that decision, you should be empowered to do that, and you're going to make the right decisions to do that. The other thing I would talk about is there's a program called an HSA, and I started HSA's health savings accounts in my company back in 2008. Nobody really heard of it. And what it is that as an employer, I will fund your HSA, right, for that year that it would normally cost me to do your health plan. But that's an interest-bearing account, and you get to use it however you see fit. You don't have to wait for if it's a dentist, if you want to go and get a cleaning or a root canal, you use that money as you see fit. The benefit of that is when you don't use that money, that accrues. So that's an incentive to stay healthy. And that's just another retirement vehicle. I'm a huge proponent of HSAs, along with giving people the opportunity to go ahead and be smart consumers. And the only way we do that is breaking down the barriers of this cross-state. New Hampshire, I think, has 2 providers in this state. You know what? You can shop anywhere for your car insurance, for your home insurance, right? For your long-term care. Why not health insurance? And I think that's a testament to what's going on with that industry. That industry holds us over a barrel. And we need to be able to say, you know what? Everybody has to compete fairly on an equal playing field, and let us as a consumer, because it's my money, determine where I want to go, and you can't have any mandates on me. Again, you can't tell me what I can and can't do.
That started with Jean Shaheen when she was the governor. She put the monopoly.
I'm a huge capitalist. Competition's good. Competition's good. Right? Right.
Steve,
Yes, sir.
how do we educate people on that?
Well, it is, there's a saying, you can't boil the ocean, right? So you have to get some smart people out there, and you have to have this kind of like this low flame. For those of us in Boy Scouts, you don't start a flame with logs on top, right? You start with baby little embers, right? You start with tinder, and then you get to the bigger and bigger logs. And I think that's what we have to do. I think that we have been, in a sense, led down the criminal's path, that these are the only options that we have. Because nobody wants to talk about it. Everybody, there are some people out there that are afraid to talk about what's right. President Trump doesn't do that, and God bless him for that, right? But it scares people. It scares people because when you say something and you have conviction, you're afraid, or many people are afraid, you're now going to be labeled. What do you mean labeled? I'm a something phobe, or I'm a this phobe. You know what? Here's what I tell people. Jamie Negron raised me. Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force. There isn't anything anybody can do to me. Nothing. And when you have a direction and a moral compass, and you know that right is on your side, there isn't anything you can't do, and not be afraid of it. Absolutely.
Do you have any trouble getting people on the health savings account?
I didn't.
No?
Every one of my employees immediately jumped on the health savings account. They just jumped because I paid. They had an option. You could have an HMO, right? We offered that as well. But what I told them, I said, I will fully fund your first year because it's cheaper for me to do that. And then you decide what you want to do with your money. I'm telling you, it's a little known, but it scares bigger entities out there because you're now empowering people to do it with the money, which is yours, to go and seek whatever service you want.
It's good because of how hard the Democrats fight it.
That's right. That's a litmus, right? Absolutely.
And if I'm not mistaken, one of the first places that actually implemented this was Forbes magazine and their staff back
Really?
in the 90s. Yeah.
It's a great concept. It really is, and I believe that
But it's hard to sell sometimes.
it is something because people are afraid of what they don't know, and you just have to, you just have to stay after it, right? It's that whole turtle in the hair thing.
More education.
You have to, right? And with the right group of people that are proponents of that, I think it'll take. That's why you should have a small business council here in New Hampshire. There is one, but talk about these things that affect you. Talk about these and come back. And what can we do? Look, I'm not for big government. I'm not for Washington telling New Hampshire what to do, clearly. But in New Hampshire, if there's something that the federal government can do to help assist the state to go do what they need to do for their people, I'm all for that. And I think you got to talk to the small businesses and not what our current delegation comes in, that it's just a photo op, right? That's what it is. Yeah. Okay. Yes, sir.
If-
I love it.
I'm your straight man.
Yeah, yes, you are. How much did Terry pay you?
Well, this question is about Terry.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Oh, here we go.
Wait.
Bring it on.
If elected,
Yes.
how often will you accept your wife's advice?
Oh. That's a little-
Thank you for coming.
Yes.
Enjoy the time here.
How long have you been married?
26 years.
That's not gonna change.
Right.
Whatever
Thanks,
it is.
Don. No, but again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. There's nothing that can't be accomplished with a group of people like this that's in this room. You know, it really, I'm humbled. I'm humbled because I never thought I would be here, to be honest with you. You know, it was just a dream that I had, and I had to convince my wife, talk about, you know, do I listen to her? But we won 3 straw polls. There's been 3. The last one we took 6 to 9% of the vote. The Lilac Luncheon one, right? The Lilac Luncheon one of the competitors in the race was a keynote speaker in it last year.
Yeah, right.
And we took that one. And we took one in Hopkinton, in the backyard of another guy that's in the race. And we won that one, and I wasn't even there. So it's not about me. That's not why I'm saying this. What this is about this campaign. It's about the people that come out because they fundamentally believe in the message that we're bringing.
The honesty.
And that's important, right? And we have one this weekend. We're going out to Cheshire County again. Seems like we ought to buy a house in Cheshire County. What?
Who can go in this?
Yeah, there you go. Who was that crazy man? And so it really is. It's about. I have heard people say, "Oh, straw polls don't matter or anything." Well, they haven't won one. That's why it doesn't matter.
They sell tickets.
Yeah, that's right. So we believe that this groundswell is what we always anticipated starting when we started out in October, and we're there. So your prayers and your help with this, we can take this state back, and then we'll have one kick-ass party on September 11th. So if you don't know, there's a restaurant on Main Street called Fuego. It's a Puerto Rican restaurant, and opened up about 4. It used to be where the Vietnamese noodle place was, right there down the corner from where Kelly Ayot's office was.
Yeah.
So we go there a lot now, and the guy's mom grew up 5 houses down from where I grew up in Puerto Rico. So we haven't announced it. That's where our watch party is going to be on September 11th. It's on Main Street.
Where do people park? Where's the parking?
I'm gonna bus you in. I'll bus you in and you can vote. Yeah, across the street in the back. Yeah. So, anyway, again, Mike and Mamar, thank you so much for opening up your home. Thank you all for coming, and I'll walk around and talk to some of you. So, God bless you all. Let's take back this seat and make it red again. Thank you very much.
Grok TV.